Hello everybody, it's me, Tonic TZW, here in the Tier 7 British Tech Tree Destroyer, the Lightning, and I've called this one, Don't Do This, or Do This, but not all of it, every time, because, yeah, there's stuff that I do in this game that I don't like to see in a game myself, and I wouldn't normally do it, but sometimes you should do it because it might work, if any of that makes sense at all. It's a little bit confusing, but perhaps we can make it a little bit more clear as this game progresses. We're on Greece, we're on domination mode, and we're here on the right flank. As you can see, we have a carrier match, but there are no radar destroyers, which makes it a little bit better. But there is a Boise out there, and as you can see off to my right side, if you look across the starboard rails, we have a Japanese cruiser who is wearing his favourite pyjamas by the looks of it, because that looks like paisley pyjamas that I used to wear as a small child in the 1970s and probably into the early 1980s as well. But yeah, he's AFK, and yeah, he's going to be a free kill, because we all know that AFK stands for a free kill, and Red Team are going to pick him up quite easily. So thank you for being AFK. It was probably somebody playing on mobile, trying to play using Transport for London's free Wi-Fi as they were on the bus somewhere. But hey, such is life. Now, what I am going to do here is what I don't like to see. The carrier is very obviously looking for a destroyer, and probably by the skin of my teeth there, I avoid getting detected. And I have decided that I am going to push wide on this flank, because the carrier is going to spawn on the top right hand corner of the minimap, which means that he is likely to be bringing his planes down this side of the map for the majority of this game, or until such time as he finds a target that he can bully. Now, what I don't want to happen is for me to be that target that he finds, and for me to be the one that he is going to bully. Especially when we have a Bismarck out there who has likely got somewhere between 10 and 11 kilometre secondary batteries, because he doesn't even have to be looking at me to be shooting at me. But I also expect that Bismarck to be running sonar, and it does look as though he's brought a friend along with him. So yeah, he's turning into that cap, he's broadside. I think he's just learned a lesson there on why not to be broadside, and I'm going to try and predict where that guy is coming. So I'm in a good position here on the flank, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at the minimap as the planes come up and fly over, because you can kind of draw a slightly diagonal line down from the top right through the red cap towards our blue cap, and that is where the planes are coming down. So I want to be away from that, but still in a position where I can put some torpedoes and spot through onto this cap, and hope that the rest of my team doesn't head in the opposite direction and leave me with my ass in the wind, as I often say here. But there we go. Are we going to get a torpedo? No, he avoids them, or they just run out, you know. Unlucky for me, lucky for him. We have already lost that cruiser who was sat static at the bottom of our spawn cap. But these guys are committing themselves to a very hard push. So one of the things I'm going to say that you shouldn't do in this game, if you are going to push, is to ignore the fact that you are sailing through a capture point, because this is going to make things so much easier for me a little bit later in the game. because that Bismarck and that other battleship, is it a Georgia? No, Alabama. They are going to go charging through that cap without taking it. Meanwhile, I am going to continue to sneak up this flank because I could continue to defend that, but as they're going straight through it, there's no need for me to defend it. So I am going to push up and wait until they're far enough away that I can sneak into this red cap here. So we land a few torpedoes, we get a few hits, and we do a bit of damage. But that's 37,000 damage, and I consider firing at this guy and trying to get a fire on him. But I'd rather stay undetected because I'm about to sneak into this capture point, and the longer I can stay undetected, the better it is for me. But oh, look, a wild aircraft carrier appears in the distance, and my Pokeball torpedoes are already loaded, and you know we got to catch them all. Now, normally I would say do not go charging up the flank of a map in a destroyer and go try to hunt an aircraft carrier and ignore the rest of what is going on in the game. In this instance, I haven't been playing to do this. I've been playing for something else. But it just so happens that he has come straight towards us, and I want him to continue to come straight towards us so that we get the best opportunity possible to kill him. Because if we can get rid of this carrier, we are going to give our team an advantage. So here we go. It's time to YOLO. We push out the smoke, we know roughly where he is, and the second that I appear, he is going to go brown trouser time and take manual control of this carrier by the looks of it, because he puts in such a hard turn that literally there was skid marks on the waves. But I'm full health. His secondaries aren't going to do enough damage in the time that it's going to take for me to send him back to port. But as we all know, just because the ship is dead with a beautiful devastating strike does not mean that his planes are dead. And obviously all of Red Team know exactly where I am now. So because he's got to try and get a straight run on me with torpedo planes, I'm going to carry on sailing round in circles because he's only got 3 minutes and he does have to drop at some point. His fighter planes are up, which is a distraction for my anti-aircraft guns. But we are going straight towards his drop, and we go through that. Pretty much they arm as we go past him. But keeping him in that turn means that his drop angle is much wider than he would want it to be. So now we're turning in, we're baiting him into a run, and then we're going to slam the engines into reverse. As soon as he comes down, we're going to turn out. The British destroyers are quite agile. He's got to drop and say a prayer, but I'm sorry, mate, it is not happening this time. And yeah, I was, I think, actually giggling to myself at the fact that I had just dev struck that guy and then avoided his attempts to torpedo me with such shameless ease. We're winning this one. I know it's not because of me, but we're not going to be winning it for very long, because Red Team are on an absolute charge. So I decide that the best course of action for me, given that they haven't got a carrier and their ships seem to be steaming across to the other side of the map, that I'm going to follow them in trail, as it is, and I'm going to take the capture points and try and keep this game in the favour of Blue Team. Now, unfortunately, our aircraft carrier is being hounded by a battleship there, and that is going to take our aircraft carrier's full attention for most of the next 5 minutes, certainly. And we do have a couple of guys across there on A cap, but it's even Stevens on the ships. But I'm across here and can't really influence the game much with damage. My only option is to push for capture points. There is a solo cap, and as you can see, D cap remained blue. Red team did not sail into that capture point and take it, which means that I do not have to waste a whole minute taking that capture point back. So again, something that you should not do is sail through a cap without turning it to your favour if you have the opportunity to do so, which, to be honest, those guys most certainly did. They knew I was behind them, they'd gotten rid of the cruiser, and they think they only had one battleship who was heading in the opposite direction, and they dealt with him. But they sailed straight through this cap and went chasing after an aircraft carrier. So that is another thing. Don't always go chasing the carrier, because I think it's a... am I going to say a Colorado? Yes, it's a Colorado. He is going to learn the hard way, but he is so committed to that that there is no way for him to back out. I am now here on the center cap. I know where pretty much all of their ships are. None of them are a risk to me, so I can take my sweet time in turning this capture point blue. The Colorado's nearly dead. If anything, in the Bismarck, there's a Boise there, so I'll keep my eye on the Boise, but I've got no risk of being spotted here. There's no radar. As long as I stay a sensible distance away from the Bismarck, there's going to be no sonar. And I'm the ship that they've got to find if they want to win this game. Having control of 2 capture points is giving us the lead. And we are going to lose another ship, I think, and it's going to come down to being myself and the aircraft carrier. But we took torpedoes out towards the Bismarck because he stopped dead. And I think what he's doing there is actually just baiting me into launching some torpedoes, because no sooner are they on their way, but he starts his engines up again. And I'm trying to get a fire, but he's creeping forwards, and we lose that last ship on the left side of air cap. And in doing so, I lose my spotter for that Bismarck. His sonar is a longer range than mine, so I am not going to sit here and wait for him to close that distance, especially not with a Boise out there as well. The carrier is still busy with that Colorado, but seeing how little health he's got left on him, in fact, there we go, he's dealt with. That leaves the Bismarck and the Boise. We have pulled a 140 point advantage in controlling 3 of the capture points. It's 2 ships place 2. I think we have an advantage in that we have a destroyer and a carrier. So this is one of the things that I am going to say to do in a game. Understand what it's going to take for your team to win this game. In this instance, it is going to be for at least one of us to survive and for us to control at least 2 of the capture points that are on this map. Because while we control 3, we have an advantage in points. While we control 2, we are equal on the points count with red team, but they will need to take another capture point to get an advantage or to kill a ship. The carrier is at the back corner of the map. There is no chance of him being killed. I am far enough away from the Boise and the Bismarck that they can't kill me, although I might be a little bit cheeky here and get a shot off. Yep, there we go. Being a little bit cheeky. But he didn't see me. because I know the game mechanics. My back turret can shoot at him, but because the highest point of my ship is behind cover, means that I am not revealed to him. So red team can take B cap, and with 30 seconds on the clock, I say retreat and affirmative to let the aircraft carrier know that I am just going to sail away, and even those torpedoes aren't really going to have any chance of hitting anything at all. We're going to snipe a shot across the top there at the Bismarck. We land a couple of hits. Nobody can see us still, and as the clock ticks down now, I do get a little bit full of myself and drop here "that's how it's done" into the game chat. But there we go, 112,500 damage. It is an average game with 2655 base XP. There's our Eastern Dragon down there on flat 0, but apart from him, everybody on the team broke 1,000 base XP, which is nice to see. So there are some things that you should do, shouldn't do, can do, but perhaps don't do every time, and maybe shouldn't do at all ever, if that makes sense. Stick around, smash the like button, leave me a comment, tell me if you understood any of that, and don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and tell your friends and get them across here to subscribe as well. Take care, and goodbye.